So the rest of the world should be concerned, but I would say on the policy-making level, but individuals should be too, because foreigners are also a target in China. One of the recent pieces of research that I did with a fellow researcher on these police databases in different parts of China that focus on key individuals, a key target are foreigners. And so if you're planning to travel to China, then there's a very good chance that you might be put in one of those databases. And there are anecdotes of people who have been, someplace, and it was like a language school, and the police decided to come in and check visas, and one of the foreigners who were there didn't have his passport. So the policeman says, well, what's your name? And he gives him his name, and the policeman holds up this hand, types something in, holds up the handheld device, says, is that you? And it was him. And it had his passport information, it had his photo, it had where he was staying, what hotel he was staying at. And you see in these databases that they're also collecting information on who the sponsoring Chinese entity is. So people going to China need to be aware of this because they could also be potentially endangering Chinese colleagues. Don't assume that just because you're a foreigner in China that you're exempt from this in some way. So that's on one very personal level. I think more broadly, well, there's multiple levels in which I think the international community more generally should be concerned about this. First of all, we know that what is developed in China in terms of these technologies does not stay in China. And you see it being exported to a wide variety of other countries, not just other authoritarian countries, but a lot of countries that at Freedom House we term and we categorize as partly free. So these are places where there's maybe a competitive or semi-competitive political system, but maybe you have an autocratic ruler coming out. Things are in balance, right? And certain types of technology can really tip the balance and really affect the much broader political space and political development and level of democracy and level of human rights protection in a country like Ecuador or Malaysia or Singapore. It's not only the Zimbabwe's and the Azerbaijans that are importing this type of technology. And then, another aspect of concern, I think, internationally with some of these technologies is that one of the priorities for the Chinese Communist Party, and you see this in party writings, in terms of becoming a, quote, cyber superpower, is to set international standards. And so as they're developing these technologies, they really want the international standards to be their model. And they invest diplomatic effort in this, and they invest technological effort, and they support specific companies like Huawei or ZTE or Tencent to expand globally and have an impact on the markets outside of China's borders. And so I think that's one space where it's not only a problem for Chinese people or for people in some other countries. You could have a situation where certain international standards that in some ways might be very technical, but could have very severe civil liberties implications in terms of who has, what kind of data can be accessed, or what are some of the standards around protection or use of artificial intelligence in one way or another that are much more heavily weighted towards the way the Chinese government and Communist Party look at this type of technology than how the United States and other democracies might.